You know, some people have said that last night's episode was the greatest thing since sliced bread. Maybe not focaccia bread, because that is pretty delicious, but it's up there. It definitely is. And welcome, my friends, to another episode review tonight of the Nine Kingdoms. And before you ask me again, just wait till next week. We'll talk about it. But this episode, some are saying it's easily one of the best we've seen from the entire franchise, Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon included, and yeah, I can see why you would say that. But I've also seen some people say that Flashback somewhat ruins the momentum of the episode, and while I disagree, I get where they're coming from. And maybe it's because I'm so used to watching anime that the sad boy hours don't really bother me as much, but it's also fair that you came to watch Aryen's ass get kicked for 33 minutes and only got it for 10. Understandable. But before we unpack all that, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and ring that bell. You know the drill. Let's get into it. And stay tuned till after the review for a special look at the Trial of Seven from the books, read by award-winning creator Jordan Rennells, who will be giving you guys a peek at his current project to adapt the Knight of the Seven Kingdoms into an immersive audio experience. Jordan has covered all of Tolkien's work and is currently making his way through George's Knight of the Seven trilogy, so be sure to check him out. Links in the description below. Let's get to it. So, as always, did I like the episode? Yes, I did. Was it my favorite? I would actually say episode 6 is my favorite, but this one is up there. I know that some people have been complaining about the episode because most of it was flashback, but honestly, you really don't want 33 minutes of battle. In fact, the fight in the books ends fairly quickly. It doesn't even feel like it lasted the 10 minutes that we saw on screen last night, so the showrunners definitely gave us our money's worth for this adaptation. It was gritty, it was bloody, and it made its point. Chivalry and knighthood fucking suck sometimes, and it's just messy. It's essentially a bunch of guys wearing pots and pans beating each other with blunt objects, and occasionally somebody kisses. Though that may have been the gay porn I watched afterwards, I don't recall. So what's up with that flashback, though? What's going on with that? I think most of us saw it coming. It's a common trope in Hollywood for characters to get knocked out, and while they're out, we see their humble beginnings. And Dunk's backstory was pretty sad, yet necessary to understand who he is. I know that most of us came here to see this guy finally do something after 4 episodes, that's fair, but I felt it necessary to understand who he is and where he comes from. Shout out to the casting department for choosing Bamber Todd as young Duncan, who looks literally like a young Peter Claffey. Also, shout out to them for hiring actress Chloe Leah as Dunk's friend and crush, Raph. Clearly, Dunk has a type, and they knew exactly what they were doing by making this change from the books. Bravo. I've also seen some criticisms aimed at the portrayal of Dunk's master, Sir Arlen, that he's just a crazy weirdo, and honestly, I love it. He's a drunken Obi-Wan Kenobi. That's actually pretty awesome. My one criticism of the flashback stuff is that I wish we saw more of Dunk carry out his job as Sir Arlen's squire. If you'll notice, we've never actually seen Dunk do what Podrick in Game of Thrones did, or what Aegon in this show has done for their knights. That would be my one criticism here. Maybe give us a look at the daily chores Dunk was required to do for Sir Arlen, or even handing him his lance for when he participated in tournaments. And although we didn't get to see that one moment from the last episode where the townsfolk wish him luck, like they did in the books, they do eventually join in on telling him to get up and give their support, which was great. The battle itself was fantastic, and I'm talking about the technical aspects of it, and how just chaotic it was. During the fight, you can clearly see that Dunk was Maekar's target, and while the Kingsguard were focused on everyone else, and making sure not to mess with Baelor, Maekar just going in there and getting stopped every time by his brother was amazing. Him or Lionel. And I gotta give Raymond MVP of the episode because you can see him coming in and helping get Aryen off Duncan, and then right back to keeping his cousin occupied throughout the whole thing. Personally, I wish it weren't so foggy so we could have seen more of the insanity all around, but I also understand why they made it like that, to pretty much hide the chaos all around and make it more tense. You never know where the next person is coming from. At some points, you can't even see like what's going down, and then you see it and you're like, oh man. But overall, I quite liked the episode. It was bloody, it was gritty, it was crazy, and it was exactly what we needed after 4 episodes of Hedge Knight Simulator. For those of you who love Baelor and were devastated by his death, you keep forgetting who wrote these stories. But of course, this is adapted from the Hedge Knight novellas, so courtesy of Mr. Jordan Rennells, let's hear how they differ from the episode last night. Enjoy.
A horn sounded. For a heartbeat, Dunk sat as still as a fly in amber, though all the horses were moving. A stab of panic went through him. I've forgotten, he thought wildly. I've forgotten all. I'll shame myself. I'll lose everything. Thunder saved him. The big brown stallion knew what to do, even if his rider did not. He broke into a slow trot. Dunk's training took over then. He gave the warhorse a light touch of spur and couched his lance. At the same time, he swung his shield until it covered most of the left side of his body. He held it at an angle to deflect blows away from him. Oak and iron guard me well, or else I'm dead and doomed to hell. The noise of the crowd was no more than the crash of distant waves. Thunder slid into a gallop. Dunk's teeth jarred together with the violence of the pace. He pressed his heels down, tightening his legs with all his strength, and letting his body become part of the motion of the horse beneath. I am Thunder, and Thunder is me. We are one beast, we are joined, we are one. The air inside his helm was already so hot he could scarce breathe. In a tourney joust, his foe would be to his left across the tilting barrier, and he would need to swing his lance across Thunder's neck. The angle made it more likely that the wood would split on impact, but this was a deadlier game they played today. With no barriers dividing them, the destriers charged straight at one another. Prince Baelor's huge black was much faster than Thunder, and Dunk glimpsed him pounding ahead through the corner of his eye slit. He sensed more than he saw the others. They do not matter, only Aegon matters, only he. He watched the dragon come. Spatters of mud sprayed back from the hooves of Prince Aeryn's grey, and Dunk could see the horse's nostrils flaring. The black lance still angled upward. A knight who holds his lance high and brings it on line at the last moment always risks lowering it too far, the old man had told him. He brought his own point to bear in the center of the princeling's chest. My lance is part of my arm, he told himself. It's my finger, a wooden finger. All I need to do is touch him with my long wooden finger. He tried not to see the sharp iron point at the end of Aeryn's black lance, growing larger with every stride. The dragon, look at the dragon, he thought. The great three-headed beast covered the prince's shield, red wings and golden fire. No, only look where you mean to strike, he remembered suddenly, but his lance had already begun to slide offline. Dunk tried to correct, but it was too late. He saw his point strike Aeryn's shield, taking the dragon between two of its heads, gouging into a gout of painted flame. At the muffled crack, he felt Thunder recoil under him, trembling with the force of the impact. And half a heartbeat later, something smashed into his side with awful force. The horses slammed together violently, armor crashing and clanging as Thunder stumbled and Dunk's lance fell from his hand. Then he was past his foe, clutching at his saddle in a desperate effort to keep his seat. Thunder lurched sideways in the sloppy mud, and Dunk felt his rear legs slip from under him. They were sliding, spinning, and then the stallion's hindquarters slapped down hard. Up! Dunk roared, lashing out his spurs. Up, Thunder! And somehow, the old warhorse found his feet again. He could feel a sharp pain under his rib, and his left arm was being pulled down. Aegon had driven his lance through oak, wool, and steel. 3 feet of splintered ash and sharp iron stuck from his side. Dunk reached over with his right hand, grasped the lance just below the head, clenched his teeth, and pulled it out of him with one savage yank. Blood followed, seeping through the rings of his mail to redden his surcoat. The world swam, and he almost fell. Dimly, through the pain, he could hear voices calling his name. His beautiful shield was useless now. He tossed it aside, elm tree, shooting star, broken lance and all, and drew his sword. But he hurt so much he did not think he could swing it. Turning Thunder in a tight circle, he tried to get a sense of what was happening elsewhere on the field. Sir Humphrey Harding clung to the neck of his mount, obviously wounded. The other Sir Humphrey lay motionless in a lake of blood-stained mud, a broken lance protruding from his groin. He saw Prince Baelor gallop past, lance still intact, and drive one of the Kingsguard from his saddle. Another of the White Knights was already down, and Maekar had been unhorsed as well. The third of the Kingsguard was fending off Sir Robin Wriothesley. Aegon, where's Aegon? The sound of drumming hooves behind him made Dunk turn his head sharply. Thunder bugled and reared, hooves lashing out futilely as Aegon's grey stallion barreled into him at full gallop. This time there was no hope of recovery. His longsword went spinning from his grasp, and the ground rose up to meet him. He landed with a bruising impact that jarred him to the bone and drove the breath from his lungs. Pain stabbed through him, so sharp he sobbed. For a moment it was all he could do to lie there. The taste of blood filled his mouth. Dunk the Lunk thought he could be a knight.